The disappearance of Judge Graves sent ripples through both the resistance and the Reincarceration Bureau. The one man who could confirm the existence of the glitch, the critical flaw in the system, was gone. But before he vanished, he had done something that neither side had anticipated. He had hidden the truth. Judge Graves moved like a shadow through the underground network, never staying in one place for too long. His every breath, his every thought, was consumed by a singular purpose: freeing his daughter. The resistance wanted to bring down the Bureau, to expose the glitch, to change the system forever. But Graves, he didn't care about the bigger picture. He didn't care about toppling regimes or sparking revolutions. He just wanted Selena back. Graves knew he had to stay hidden. The Bureau was relentless, its eyes everywhere, but they had trained him too well. He had spent years passing judgment in their courts, enforcing their laws, sending thousands to reincarceration. He knew how they thought, how they hunted, and more importantly, how to stay ahead of them. Yet, there was one flaw in his own survival plan. He was trying to do it alone. Eve Santiago sat in a dimly lit safe house, scrolling through the last known communications of Graves. The hum of outdated technology filled the air as she sifted through encrypted logs, searching for something, anything, that could give them a lead. The data logs had been scrubbed, his digital footprint erased, but something wasn't right. The Bureau was good, but not perfect. There has to be something, Jalen Cross muttered, pacing behind her. His fingers twitched as if itching for action, frustration evident in the lines of his face. Graves had everything we needed to take them down. He wouldn't just disappear without a trace. He didn't, Eve replied, her fingers tapping rapidly on the holopad, pulling up an encrypted file buried deep in an old server. It was fragmented, bits and pieces scattered across different data nodes, but one word stood out: Vance. Jalen frowned. Who's Vance? Eve's jaw tightened. Dr. Malcolm Vance, one of the original scientists who helped develop the reincarnation tracking system before the Bureau took full control. If anyone knows where Graves hid the proof, it's him. Jalen exchanged a glance with Eve. Then we find him, before they do. Deep inside R.I.B. headquarters, Commissioner Elijah Mercer stood in a private war room, watching holographic projections of Graves's last movements. The images replayed in seamless loops, every street corner, every terminal he accessed before he vanished. The AI-driven security feeds showed the judge moving with deliberate caution, covering his tracks expertly. The judge was too smart, too careful. If he had managed to hide the documents before vanishing, the Bureau's entire empire could be at risk. A senior analyst cleared her throat nervously. "Sir, we intercepted encrypted chatter from the resistance. They're looking for Malcolm Vance." Mercer's gaze darkened. Vance was a loose end. The man had once been one of the brightest minds behind the Bureau's foundation. If he knew the system's vulnerabilities, and if he still had access to that knowledge, the resistance finding him could be catastrophic. Find him before they do, and if he knows anything, bury it. Finding Malcolm Vance wasn't going to be easy. Official records stated that he had died years ago in a transport accident. His file was closed, his assets seized by the Bureau. But Eve knew better. Men like Vance didn't just disappear. They ran, they hid. And if they were smart, they left breadcrumbs for the right people to follow. Jalen and Eve traveled to the outer fringes of civilization, where past lifers and political dissidents lived off the grid, beyond the reach of the Bureau. Here, the world was different. Patched together technology, black market food dispensaries, and security drones patrolling overhead, scanning for rogue citizens. The resistance had sources in these places. One name kept surfacing: the Ghost. A man who had once been at the heart of the Bureau's greatest technological achievement, and then turned his back on it. A man who knew too much to be allowed to live. And yet, he had survived. The abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of a forgotten city looked empty, but Eve wasn't fooled. She adjusted the holoscreen on her wrist and activated the pulse scanner. A faint heat signature flickered behind the walls. She knocked once, twice, a long pause. Then the door creaked open. A disheveled man stood before them, eyes sunken with paranoia, but sharp with intelligence. He held a pulse blaster at his side, his knuckles white from gripping it too tightly. "You shouldn't have come here," he said. Jalen stepped forward, raising his hands slightly. "We're looking for Malcolm Vance." The man exhaled sharply, running a hand through his graying hair. Then you found him. But if you're here, that means the Bureau is already close behind. And if they catch me, then let's make sure they don't, Eve cut in. Judge Graves had evidence that could take them down. If he hid it, you're the only one who might know where. Vance hesitated, his gaze flickering between them. Then, with a sigh of resignation, he turned and motioned them inside. Inside, the warehouse was cluttered with old tech, outdated computers, dismantled drones, and stacks of physical documents, something almost unheard of in a world dominated by digital data. The air was thick with dust, the dim glow of hollow terminals casting eerie shadows across the walls. Vance tapped a control panel on the far wall, activating a holographic projection. Maps of R.I.B. facilities flickered into view, files tagged with classified warnings filling the air between them. Graves was smart, Vance murmured, scrolling through the files, but he didn't trust digital storage. If he hid the proof, he hid it somewhere real, somewhere tangible. Jalen narrowed his eyes. Like where? Vance rubbed his chin, thinking. There are only a handful of places where physical evidence would be secure from the Bureau, but if I were Graves, I'd use one place they'd never think to look. Eve leaned forward. And where's that? Vance looked at them both and said one word. The Forgotten Archive. Jalen and Eve exchanged a glance. They had never heard of it. Vance sighed. It's where the Bureau buries the past. The crimes they don't want remembered. The people they don't want found. If Graves hid the truth, it's there. Jalen tightened his fists. Then that's where we're going. Vance shook his head. You don't get it. No one goes into the archive. It's a one-way door. People don't come back. Eve smirked, and the look on her face said it all as she walked out of the room.